Russian President Vladimir Putin and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a telephonic conversation. They exchanged New Year's greetings, and in that conversation also discussed bilateral issues. They also spoke on increasing cooperation when it comes to the fight against terror. Vladimir Putin wished Prime Minister Modi for the upcoming parliamentary elections in India. President Putin also invited the Indian Prime Minister to take part in the Eastern Economic Forum to be held in Russia in September this year as the main guest. The telephonic conversation taking place between the two leaders just a short while ago. A number of issues discussed during that conversation. Further details are still trickling in. But we do know that they exchanged New Year's greetings, also discussed bilateral issues, focusing on increasing cooperation when it comes to the fight against terror. And the Russian president also invited the Prime Minister of India to take part in the Eastern Economic Forum to be held in Russia in September. That's another huge forward movement when it comes to bolstering ties between India and Russia. The telephonic conversation taking place between the two leaders just a short while back. During that conversation, the two leaders exchanging New Year's greetings. This is the first time that the two leaders have spoken this year, and also focusing on a number of bilateral issues. They've also promised to cooperate with each other when it comes to their renewed fight against terror, and cooperating on a number of those mutual issues. Let's get in further details now from our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sipul, who's joining us with more on that. Siddhant, what more do we know? How long was that conversation for, and what else was discussed?
Well, basically the focus was on India-Russia ties, how to strengthen it in this year in 2019. We know just few months ago, in October of the last year, we saw the S-400 deal being signed with the Russian president coming to New Delhi for the annual summit between India and Russia. And this time around, the focus has been on many things in the phone conversation that took place, especially on the issue of terror. This time around, the annual summit, which alternatively happens, will be taking place in Russia. And of course, we know that India and Russia share not only close partnership and relationship, but a traditional warmth has been there in the relationship since India's independence in 1947, and Russia has been a key partner when it comes to defense. Remember, 70% of India's defense is Russian in origin, and India is keen to maintain that traditional ties, even though in the new geopolitical scenario, India has also made a new partner, which of course is America, and India has been balancing the relationship when it comes to Moscow and Washington, which of course has been credited to the Indian government, especially under the Modi administration.
And another crucial aspect of that conversation, Siddhant, being the Russian leader inviting his Indian counterpart to take part in the Eastern Economic Forum, which is to be held in Russia, and as the main guest, that is another indicator of bolstering ties between the two nations.
Well, yes, economic partnership is something that India and Russia has been focusing on. Remember, in the year 2017, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi participated in the economic forum, which took place in St. Petersburg, and we saw visuals from there, which of course is still fresh in the minds of Indian policymakers. And how the Indian Prime Minister said that the Indian industries are keen to focus on the eastern part of Russia, especially cities like Vladivostok, which is not only rich in resources but important geostrategically when it comes to the entire Asian dynamics. So clearly economics remains a focus, and we know a lot of Russian companies are here in India, especially defense companies, and of course focus on the nuclear energy also. That is something that is one of the main pillars of India-Russia partnership. But in a growing relationship, we have seen how India and Russia have also been engaging on multilateral forums, whether it's the G20, where we saw the Russia-China and India summit, RIC summit, happening after a gap of 12 years, or whether it's the BRICS summit, where the Russian and the Indian leadership meet almost on an annual basis. The last year we saw the summit happening in South Africa, and of course this is something that India and Russia are keen to increase the bilateral relationship. And we know the north-south corridor, which is opening from Mumbai to Moscow via Chabad, is important. That will open the bilateral relationship to another level, especially at the economic aspect.